Hello, my name is Steve Adolf, and agility. Is it more than just an IT practice? Well, we really should be interested in this because how we answer this question could really hit our bottom line. Consider this. Some 17 years ago, some people seeking better ways of developing software got together at a ski resort in Utah and came up with the Agile Manifesto. And it really excited the software community. And the interesting thing about it too is it also showed business benefits because Agile seemed to work. Many IT organizations were reporting significant improvements in terms of lower IT costs, faster time to market, lower defect rates, and much greater customer satisfaction. But is Agile just an IT science experiment? Is it just a way to improve the technical execution of our IT group? Now, a lot of organizations I work with actually operate this way or appear to think this way because I have been in a number of organizations where the justification for adopting Agile was we are going to reduce our IT costs by 20%. Some were even saying, oh, we're going to reduce our IT costs by 50%. And that cost reduction was going to come in the form of reduced headcount. Now, as an aside, you can imagine how hard that made my job when the intent was, yeah, we're going to do an Agile transformation and 20% of you are going to be gone. So, if we take the view that agility is just an IT science experiment, it's to give us a better behaved IT group, are we leaving anything on the table? And I will argue we are leaving a lot. We are leaving the biggest value of agility to the business on the table if we just consider agility to be an IT science experiment. Because simply, better execution doesn't mean we're creating more value. We can be efficiently developing the wrong things. It doesn't matter if we're on time and on budget if we're doing the wrong things. Now, agility has long been known as a strategy for competition using time. So it's a time-based competitive strategy. A couple of my favorite writers or thinkers on the topic, one is John Boyd, United States Air Force colonel, who developed something known as the OODA model of fast decision making. Very, very popular in the military, but also well adapted to business. And to paraphrase it, you could say that the OODA loop is how quickly can you learn to beat your competitor? Can you learn faster than your competitor? George Stock, who wrote the book Competing Against Time, said, emphasized that for leading companies, managing time represents the most powerful source of competitive advantage. So we get the idea here that agility is a form of time-based competition. Now, consider this. Our business models and our business processes are one of our key determinants to how well we fare in the business environment. It's one of our key success drivers. Just consider a simple example. Compare Walmart and Sears. Both are retailers, and yet Sears is on the verge of bankruptcy, already bankrupt in Canada. Walmart is succeeding and growing. Effectively, in some ways, doing the same thing, being retailers, but approaching it from very different angles, from different approaches, because they have different business processes. So our business processes are one of our key competitive advantages. Being able to create good business processes enables us to better compete against our clients or against our competitors. Consider something else. Some very high-profile IT failures in the airline industry have demonstrated that businesses cannot run without their IT. In other words, IT is an intrinsic part of our business processes. It's not something that we just simply take a manual process and automate it. When that IT component is no longer there, it is we can't run the business. It's just not that the business runs any slower. We fundamentally cannot run the business anymore. So IT is an intrinsic part of our business processes because our business processes assume an IT capability exists. There's no manual fallback anymore. So what this is telling us is that our IT is no longer can be regarded as just simply a bag on the side of the system, an annoying cost center. Rather, it is the fundamental way that we realize our business operations. And now finally consider this. What gift does Agile give to the business outside of a better behaved IT group? It gives the business the opportunity to quickly learn and adapt their business processes, because as IT is implementing business processes, that's what we're generally doing in most organizational IT groups, the Agile IT is trying to do that by delivering small, fast increments of our system. As those small increments get deployed quickly, this gives an opportunity to send feedback to our business that business is able to take advantage of and learn from to see if their original ideas still hold up. So IT is creating an amazing opportunity for feedback and learning such that the business can create superior business processes. But if there is a wall between the business and IT that I see in so many organizations, then this wall becomes an impediment to that learning. Typically most of us seem to be in an environment where we are throwing requirements over a wall and throwing systems back. And that's embodied in the way that a lot of organizations adopt Agile. They tend to adopt a water scrumming or scrummerfall type model that is represented here. Here, the business continues to write thick, detailed specifications. They do all their analysis up front, write out a specification, and then throw it over the wall to IT, which then executes in a rather agile manner. But their business is ignoring or not taking advantage of the fast feedback that's being created by that IT group as they do quick deployments of the system. This over-the-wall mentality assumes that somehow the business has a crystal ball or is omniscient as to what the best products and services will be for IT to create. Now, the question we have to ask is, do we honestly know which projects, which services, which processes are really good bets? How many of the projects that we take on actually deliver good business value? Well, if you're the average company, possibly less than 20%. According to the Standish Group, which every consultant quotes because it's a scary study, and of course we all have the means to fix your problem if you hire us, but this is about the best data that we have, and it seems to support what many of us feel anecdotally, that maybe up to 60% of what we do is waste, doesn't create value for the business. And we're not talking about failed IT projects. We're not talking about technical disasters. We're simply talking about projects that don't meet their clients' needs and don't create value for the business. There's even a humorous law, Humphrey's law, that was created for this. It basically says users will know the system requirements when they see the system in service. And you can see here the typical conversation that happens between IT and a stakeholder. Our IT people say, hey, what do you think? Do you like it? And the business client's going, well, no, this isn't really going to work for us. And of course, IT tries to defend itself by saying, well, that was what was in the spec. And what does the business say? Doesn't matter. It isn't going to work for us. This is how we can create waste that's on time and on budget and the defined scope. So What are we going to do about it? Well, maybe your first reaction is to say, well, this is evidence that we're not doing good upfront analysis. But we should spend more time in the analysis before we throw that project over the wall. And that way we can just focus on what is valuable rather than that red stuff. The intention behind that is nice, but unfortunately it runs up against this thing, which is called the cone of uncertainty. And this was created by a study by Barry Boehm in his book, Software Engineering Economics. And it's a simple model that simply suggests that at the beginning of a project, the scope uncertainty is huge. And as we move forward, it narrows because we're learning more about the project as we proceed through time. Well, guess where we do our budget and requirements? Right here, usually up front. And this is the point of maximum ignorance. And then because so many of us have been so severely burned by scope creep, what do? We put mechanisms in to prevent pivoting, to prevent the change of scope, to prevent new features coming in, to prevent the learning process. So, what if we could put Humphrey's law to work for us? Humphrey's law is saying that the user isn't going to know what they want until they see it in service. Okay then. Why not put the system in service early? IT's capable of doing it. They're agile. They're delivering the system in small chunks. Let's, as a business, start using that capability to learn quickly. Are we creating the right processes? Are we creating the right things? And so, very early on, rather than prematurely committing, let's just put something out there, learn from it, and people are going to go, oh, that's awful. Thank goodness we didn't go down that path. And now let's do this, and we're starting to learn more and more and more. And we're able to get these fast deliveries out there. In fact, we could probably accelerate the convergence on that cone by doing this. So we're delivering the system in small chunks, not only to reduce the technical risk and have our demo, but to really evaluate, is this the right product? Are we building the right processes for our business? So now, what we're doing here is rather than throwing the requirements over the wall, business is collaborating with IT, and IT has given basically a steering wheel to the business such that we can steer the project to create the best value. Now let's just do a little bit more graphic example of how this works with the cone of uncertainty, being able to do this iterative delivery and the feedback and learning. So here we have drawn the cone. On the outside of the cone, we said this is the waste area. If we venture into those areas, we create waste. As long as we stay within the cone, that green area, we're going to create value. And here's our typical approach. We would have our book of requirements. And because we're starting at the beginning of the project, really where we're going is in the fog. And so what do? At the beginning of a project, we make our best shot in the dark. We say, okay, we've got to commit our requirements now. We're going to make our best shot in the dark. And now we're going to execute along the path. So we build our project plan to follow that path, and we measure our progress on that path. That's how we say whether the project is on track, are we following the predefined path there? Now what happens? We start executing along our path and we learn. And it begins to reveal a lot more about the project. And what are we learning here? That if we were to continue on that originally defined project plan, we are going to venture out of the green zone and into the wasteful red. If we can get that knowledge quickly to the business, we have the ability to pivot, to say, those features are bad ideas, that was a bad idea, let's now do this because that is honestly now what we know is going to create value. Typically, if we had that discussion in another context, that would be going through a change control board, and that would probably be crushed as being scope creep. So we continue on. And now you see the difference here. If we had continued on our original path, we would have missed the target. with learning, we were able to get much, much closer. Doing this iterate, being able to take advantage of IT's agility to create business agility, we were able to hit the target. And the difference here is the value gap. That distance between the original plan, what we thought they wanted, and what they really needed, that we can consider to be the value gap. That value gap is what IT agility is giving back to the business. One more thing. Usually once we commit a project and we have a budget for that project, we execute that project until the budget is exhausted. Do we have the defined scope delivered within that budget? But do we have to keep going on a project even when we say, hey, wait a minute, we've realized the value, we've got what we need here, there's no need to continue spending, and we can use those resources to fund something else. And so rather than following this path, in which we're really not, this is the more the over-the-wall approach, we have this interactive relationship between the business and IT, such that we can take advantage of IT's agility. Then we can be learning all the time what is a good point to say, yes, we've got enough value from this project, we can now move on to here and go to this project which will create us more value. So the question is, do we let IT do their agile thing and treat it as a science experiment? Or do we take advantage of IT to create business agility to help us create greater business value and reduce waste? So, in my view, Agile is a strategy for using time for business success. We can leverage IT and learn to improve our business processes. We can use time to strategic advantage, because if IT is the fundamental basis of our business processes and they're agile, we can leverage that learning to improve the business processes. We become agile. We can reduce waste by learning what is really valuable, because we're seeing results very, very quickly. We can now make the judgment as, that was a good idea, that one was bad. This creates more value, let's put our resources here. It also enables us to take advantage of opportunities. As we're learning, opportunities will present themselves. We're able to leverage those opportunities to say, wow, look what we've learned and look at the value that we can bring to our business now. It's not something we can do if we just wall off IT and look at them as, that's really cute guys, you're agile, but here's your specs, don't change them. There's a lot we can do when we can be opportunistic. So, to be straightforward, the business is the real value in the agile journey. The IT agility is enabling us to have business agility. So, as our customer here is saying, this is what I really need. And he's thinking, boy, am I fortunate that we didn't build what I actually spec'd. I'm Steve Adel, and thank you.